now. I was not pleased with the board last year. I was not pleased at all, okay? And they look softer. I mean, the Rough Riders that I'm accustomed to seeing at Alabama under Nick Saban, I didn't see them last year. And I'm telling you right now, I better not see that this year, all right? It better be better. You don't defer to anybody. Hell with Georgia. Hell with all of them. You're Alabama. Stand up and handle your business. Otherwise, there should be considered a change. I'm not saying that the boy can't coach. We know he could coach. We know what he did at Washington. We know what he's done wherever he's been. But Alabama, listen, you following Nick Saban. That's a different standard. That's a different responsibility. You can either live up to it or you can bounce. It's that simple.
Let me keep it rolling here, guys, because Stephen A., I don't know if you heard, but Paul was also not pleased. And Paul, I promise I'm not wearing these colors on purpose. Go blue. Michigan has been in the news for the NCAA's punishment regarding the sign-stealing saga during their 2023 championship season. College football fans have been livid. Paul, you put the Wolverines and their fans on blast regarding those sign-stealing penalties. Let's listen to this.
What bugs me here, John, is the hypocrisy of the Michigan fan base. I mean, they are easily among the most despicable group of overzealot fans I've ever dealt with. And the fact that they tried to act like they have a legitimate national championship, they don't. It won't. The banners won't come down. The trophies will remain. But everybody knows they cheated like bandits. Everybody knows that this thing stinks to high heaven. Everybody knows Jim Harbaugh was a total fraud in everything he said. But it won't matter because he got away with it. And the most important thing he did, he won.
Paul, I cannot think of anyone better to ask this question to. Stephen A., was Paul too harsh?
No, he was not. When you're talking about the fans, maybe you were a little bit too harsh towards them because, you know, they're not the ones committing the acts themselves that Jim Harbaugh and some members of his staff have been found guilty of. And so they're just rooting for their team. They're not paying attention to all of these things. They want to win. And so, you know, Michigan obviously battling Ohio State, you know, looking to overcome the odds and finally capture a national championship. They were able to pull that off. There's no crime in them being concerned about that and not paying attention to all the minutiae that comes with it. I could understand that. So I think that you might have been a bit too harsh to the fan base. But what you said about the program, what you said about the institution, which, by the way, I had the pleasure of speaking at last year. Listen, I can't. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being on that campus. But I got to tell you, in light of these findings, this is not a good day for Michigan. And Jim Harbaugh is coaching in the National Football League now. But he looks like a guy that ran to the National Football League as opposed to a guy that coasted there because he wasn't going to have a job in NCAA football because essentially he's been banned until 2038. Let's go over these penalties. A base fine of $50,000 to the institution. 10% of the football program's budget, 10% of the cost of scholarships for the upcoming 25-26 season, loss of all postseason revenue for the 2025 and 2026 seasons. These combined penalties could exceed in excess of $20 to $30 million. Michigan received 4 years of probation, recruiting restrictions including a 25% cut in official visits, and a 14-week recruiting communications ban. Jim Harbaugh himself was given a 10-year show cause order, which begins after his current 4-year show cause penalty ends in August 2028, effectively barring him from the NCAA until 2038. And oh, by the way, Connor Stallions, who was doing the spying, received an 8-year show cause penalty. Denard Robinson, a former assistant director, he got a 3-year show cause penalty. Sharon Moore, the coach, who was an assistant during the violations, he received a 2-year show cause order and a 3-game suspension. 2 games for the upcoming 2025 season, self-imposed, by the way, and 1 game at the start of the 2026 season. I mean, damn, that's guilt for you. That shows that it wasn't just, it was Harbaugh, it was his program. There were a lot of culprits involved, and clearly, what are we talking about here? Sign stealing and all of this stuff? I mean, my God, this is the kind of stuff that happened that clearly gave them a competitive advantage. There is no way to slice it. I would love to sit here and come to the defense of the program and say Paul Finebaum is off his rocker. He is wrong. It's excessive, but it's not true. Paul Finebaum is right on the money with what he said, not about the fans, but about what was going on at that program from 2021 to 2023, so far as we know. And it does render the wins by Michigan illegitimate, which means that championship banner shouldn't be hanging up there. They shouldn't be recognized as national champions. We shouldn't even talk about them in that light. And I'm a fan of Jim Harbaugh, the coach. I think he can coach his butt off. But this really, really, really looks bad. And even though he's walking on an NFL sideline, in a lot of people's eyes, he's going to be looked at as a cheater right now because of what the NCAA has said.
Paul,
and I don't, he has to speak about it. He has to come to his own defense about it. It doesn't look good.
What really bothers me, Stephen, is that about 8 or 9 years ago, Jim Harbaugh, Kirby Smart a cheater. He called Nick Saban a cheater. He went after a bunch of schools in the South, and now look at him. And think about this. This is 2025. If you turn the clock back 25 years when the NCAA had some teeth and was a respected organization as opposed to a laughingstock, there is a reasonably good chance, considering they had already been in the window, that this program would have been shut down. I'm talking death penalty. It's only happened one time to SMU in the 80s. I think they are this close. And what does Harbaugh do? He hightails it out of town and makes $15 or $20 million a year. Good for him. He got out of there. But the show cause doesn't matter because he's not ever coming back to college football.
That's interesting. Pot calling the kettle black there. They're
Colts for week 1. Boy, does that show a lack of faith in Richardson, who they spent a top 4 pick on. It's bad for him because there's nobody out here that believes that Daniel Jones is a worthy starter for your franchise. We know he's got skills. We know he can make some plays. We know he can do some things, but his career with the New York Giants, his 24-44-1 record as a starter over the course of his career speaks for itself. We've seen more blooper reels from Daniel Jones than highlights. And he's your starter, starting over a guy that you spent the top 4 draft pick on in the NFL draft just a few years ago. That's a bad, bad, bad sign for Richardson. I'm sorry. I'm happy for Daniel Jones because he has an opportunity to resurrect his career and his cachet. But in the case of Richardson, I'm very, very sad because his career looks in jeopardy now. I mean, that's a slap in the face. That's a loss of faith in that young brother if you're not going to start him over Daniel Jones.
Stephen A., co-sign on everything you said about Anthony Richardson's career mortality. But let's be clear about one thing. He ain't the only person with the Indianapolis Colts whose NFL career is in jeopardy with this decision. Chris Ballard, head coach Shane Steichen, y'all on deck. Because if you're relying on Daniel Jones to come and save the day, you've probably already lost your job. That's the reality of it. Chris Ballard has been there 8 years. He's had 2 playoff appearances, 1 playoff win. On what planet is that good enough as the general manager? Shane Steichen, where are you when it comes to being able to get your team to qualify for the postseason, when it comes to you being able to develop a quarterback that you invested a top 5 draft pick in? That's why you got the job. Your work with Jalen Hurts. Where was that development with Anthony Richardson? We can't find it. So both of those individuals are in jeopardy. Last point I'm going to add to that. Carly Ursay-Gordon, the new managing partner for the Indianapolis Colts, is now taking over for her late father. I have never seen new ownership not want to install their own people when it comes to the football operation side. So if those individuals, the general manager and the head coach, can't get Daniel Jones to put this team in a position where they prove that they deserved an opportunity in 2026, they're both gone.
Yeah, so many thoughts about this, man. Number one, I always say when it comes to these type of decisions, follow the money, okay? Daniel Jones is being paid $14 million. $14 million. That's more money than Aaron Rodgers is being paid in Pittsburgh right now. And that, to me, tells me everything that I need to know about how the Indianapolis Colts felt about this whole quarterback competition. Now, my thing is this. You drafted Anthony Richardson at number 4, who only started 13 games at the University of Florida. Where was the plan? Where was the plan for this young man? You knew you threw this young man out there to the wolves, knowing full damn well he was not ready to play in the National Football League. Most teams would bring in a veteran quarterback and help ease the transition of a guy like Anthony Richardson. We know he has immense talent. There's no question about it. And I will say this: Anthony Richardson's career is not over. It's not over by far, because someone is going to either trade, or inevitably, if he gets cut, someone's going to pick him up. He just has too much talent. But CC, you're absolutely right. Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen have completely failed Anthony Richardson here. No, I've always said organizations oftentimes break these young men, then build them up. There was no plan for this young man, and now we're seeing the results of it with Daniel Jones now being the starter in Indianapolis.
Stephen A.?
I have nothing to add. It's sad. Like I said, it's just sad because, Anthony Richardson may have the talent, but something's clearly missing: the lack of experience. Can't go through your progressions quick enough, can't make the right reads, etc. They're going to look at all of those things. But what they're ultimately going to look at after a decision like this is made, Molly, is they're going to say, damn, they decided to put in Daniel Jones ahead of you. Why? They're going to say that. And that huge question is going to be a lot for him to overcome in his career. It's sad what's happened to him, because he's taking a hit right now. Anthony, you ain't starting because of Daniel Jones. That's a bad look. There's no way around it.
An indictment, 100%. We'll leave it there, guys. When we come back here on First Take, more football. Can Joe Burrow overcome the Bengals' deficiencies this time around? And how many